The Academy's elite cadets sneered as the human recruit began her warm-up. Their worlds had conquered galaxies. What could Earth's primitive training teach them? The general simply raised a hand and whispered one word. Watch. What followed silenced the entire hall and rewrote the definition of strength. The underestimated species, the new arrival. Transport shuttle docked with Nexus Prime at exactly 0800 hours, its hull gleaming against the backdrop of the Andromeda Spiral. Inside the Galactic Military Academy's main hangar, a group of elite cadets waited with barely concealed curiosity. Today marked the arrival of their newest classmate, and word had spread quickly through the station's corridors about the species joining their ranks. Cadet Zara Thus, a towering Valorian with crystalline skin that shifted colors with her emotions, stood at the front of the group. Her azure complexion flickered with amusement as she addressed her companions. I still cannot believe Command approved this, a human. Their species has been spacefaring for what, barely 2 centuries? Beside her, Cadet Rex Mortain nodded his massive reptilian head. The Drakmori warrior stood 3 meters tall, his scales bearing the ceremonial scars of his homeworld's military tradition. My ancestors were conquering star systems when theirs were still hunting with primitive tools. This is either a joke or a diplomatic courtesy. The hangar's atmospheric processors hummed as the shuttle's boarding ramp descended. From within emerged a figure that caused several cadets to exchange glances of confusion. The human stood roughly 1.7 meters tall, with dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail and brown eyes that seemed to catalog everything around her with quiet intensity. She wore the standard Academy uniform, but somehow it appeared different on her smaller frame. Maya Chen stepped onto the deck plates and surveyed the assembled group with calm professionalism. Good morning. I'm looking forward to training alongside all of you. First impressions, Cadet Jorik Vel, whose species the Nathani possessed forearms and enhanced reflexes, couldn't suppress a snort of derision. Welcome to the Academy, Earthborn. Try to keep up during the physical assessments. Maya's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes that made Zara's crystalline skin shift from blue to an uncertain yellow. I'll do my best, Cadet Vel. The group moved through Nexus Prime's corridors toward the orientation briefing. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, housing over 10,000 personnel from 47 different species. Its rotating sections provided varying gravity environments to accommodate the diverse physiological needs of the Galactic Coalition's members. During their walk, Cadet Finn Oscar from the ice world of Kireth made several observations about human frailty. His people had evolved in sub-zero temperatures and possessed natural resistance to extreme cold. I've read your species' environmental parameters, he mentioned casually. Narrow temperature tolerance, single heart, limited sensory range. How did you even qualify for admission? Maya matched their pace effortlessly despite her shorter strides. Our entrance examination scores were apparently sufficient. Examination scores. Rex rumbled with what passed for laughter among his kind. Book learning won't help when the plasma bolts start flying. The training grounds, their first practical exercise took place in the Academy's adaptive training facility. The chamber could simulate any environment from the vacuum of space to the crushing depths of gas giants. Today's scenario was relatively simple. A jungle pursuit exercise where cadets had to navigate hostile terrain while avoiding detection. Instructor Voss, a grizzled veteran from the Coalition's frontier wars, explained the parameters. You have 2 hours to traverse 15 kilometers of dense forest, while 3 hunter drones track your movements. Reach the extraction point without being tagged by their sensors. Standard equipment only. The alien cadets nodded confidently. Zara's species possessed natural camouflage abilities. Rex's thick hide could deflect most projectiles. Jorik's multiple limbs gave him superior climbing capabilities. Each had clear advantages for this type of exercise. Maya Chen listened to the briefing without comment, occasionally glancing at her equipment pack with what appeared to be professional assessment. Begin, Voss announced. Unexpected adaptability. The simulated jungle materialized around them with startling realism. Humid air filled their lungs and the canopy above filtered sunlight into dappled patterns. Immediately, the cadets scattered according to their individual strengths. Zara activated her camouflage and began moving through the underbrush like a living shadow. Rex used his massive strength to forge directly through obstacles that would stop smaller beings. Jorik took to the trees, his forearms propelling him from branch to branch with impressive speed. Maya disappeared, not through advanced technology or innate abilities, but through something far more unsettling. She simply seemed to become part of the environment itself, moving with a fluid efficiency that left no trace of her passage. The first hour progressed as expected. The alien cadets made steady progress, using their natural advantages to overcome various obstacles. Then the hunter drones activated their advanced scanning modes and everything changed. Zara's camouflage proved insufficient against the drone's multi-spectrum sensors. She found herself pinned behind a fallen log, unable to move without detection. Rex's direct approach had led him into a box canyon, where 3 drones converged on his position. Jorik discovered that the artificial trees wouldn't support his weight at crucial moments. One by one, the alien cadets received the harsh tone that indicated sensor contact. Tagged. Failed. The impossible navigation Maya emerged from the jungle precisely at the 2-hour mark, approaching the extraction point from an angle that should have been impossible given the terrain. She moved with calm purpose, showing no signs of the exhaustion that typically accompanied such exercises. Instructor Voss checked his sensors 3 times before accepting the readings. Cadet Chen, report. Mission complete, sir. No sensor contact. That's impossible, Zara protested, her crystalline skin flashing frustrated orange. The drones mapped every possible route. There's no way to reach extraction without crossing at least 2 sensor grids. Maya consulted a hand-drawn map she'd apparently created during the exercise. I found alternative pathways, Cadet Voss. The sensor coverage had gaps if you approached from the correct angles. Voss studied the map with growing bewilderment. It showed routes that his own tactical analysis had missed, elevation changes that provided cover, and timing sequences that exploited the drone's patrol patterns. The level of environmental assessment required to create such a map in real time was extraordinary. How did you identify these vulnerabilities so quickly? He asked. Pattern recognition, sir. Every system has weaknesses if you know how to look for them. Growing realization. That evening in the cadet quarters, the alien students gathered to discuss the day's events. The initial mockery had evolved into confused uncertainty. She moved like she'd been in that jungle before, Jorik muttered, flexing his forearms restlessly. But the simulation was random generated. No one could have prior knowledge. Rex's massive head tilted thoughtfully. Her species evolved on a single world, correct? How does that translate to immediate adaptation in any environment? Zara's skin had settled into a troubled purple hue. I've been researching human history. Their planet, it's not like other worlds. Multiple climate zones, extreme weather patterns, predators in every ecosystem. They didn't evolve for one environment. They evolved to survive in all of them. The group considered this information with growing unease. Most species developed on worlds with relatively stable conditions, adapting to specific environmental challenges. The idea of a planet that required constant adaptability was deeply unsettling. That would explain the pattern recognition, Finn admitted reluctantly. If survival required constant environmental assessment, they'd develop enhanced observation skills. As the station's lights dimmed to simulate nighttime, none of the alien cadets slept particularly well. They'd begun to suspect that their assumptions about humanity's limitations might be fundamentally flawed. Tomorrow would bring new training exercises and new revelations about their human classmate. What they didn't yet realize was that Maya Chen represented not humanity's elite, but their average. And somewhere in the Academy's command center, General Korath was reviewing the day's reports with expressions that his subordinates had learned to fear. The human integration program was proceeding exactly as he'd predicted, which was why he'd recommended against it in the first place. The general's warning advanced combat protocols. The Academy's combat simulation chamber represented the pinnacle of Galactic Coalition military technology. Its adaptive systems could recreate any battlefield scenario with lethal accuracy, adjusting difficulty levels to challenge even the most elite warriors. This morning, the chamber hummed with energy as it prepared for the advanced tactical assessment. General Korath observed from the command deck, his ancient Ketharan features carved from what appeared to be living stone. His species measured their lifespans in millennia, and he'd personally witnessed the rise and fall of 3 galactic civilizations. Very little surprised him anymore. But the data streams from yesterday's exercises had captured his full attention. Instructor Voss approached with obvious reluctance. "General, the cadets are assembled. However, I must express concerns about including Cadet Chen in today's scenario. The difficulty parameters were designed for species with enhanced physical capabilities." Korath's granite-like eyes shifted to the tactical display showing 16 life signs in the preparation chamber, 15 aliens possessing various advantages: enhanced strength, multiple limbs, natural armor, accelerated reflexes, and one human who, according to every biological assessment, should have been eliminated from the program weeks ago. "Proceed with standard parameters," Korath commanded, his voice carrying the weight of eons, "but increase monitoring on all subjects. Today's exercise will be educational." The scenario begins. The simulation materialized around the cadets as a war-torn urban environment. Smoke drifted between shattered buildings while distant explosions provided atmospheric authenticity. Their mission briefing was straightforward: infiltrate enemy territory, eliminate high-value targets, extract with minimal casualties. The twist came with team composition. Instead of working individually, they'd been divided into mixed units. Maya found herself partnered with three of the most vocal skeptics: Rex, Jorik, and a newcomer named Slix Varn, whose species possessed natural telepathic abilities. "Wonderful," Slix commented, his mental voice carrying sarcasm directly into his teammates' minds. "We're partnered with the liability." Rex hefted his plasma rifle, its weight designed for beings of his considerable mass. "Stay behind us, human. We'll handle the actual combat." Maya checked her equipment with methodical precision, her movements displaying the same efficiency they'd observed during the jungle exercise. "Understood. What's your tactical approach?" "Tactical approach?" Jorik's forearms gestured dismissively. "We go in fast and hard. Overwhelming force. Standard coalition doctrine. Against how many opponents?" The question caught them off guard. In their eagerness to demonstrate superiority, they'd barely considered the enemy force composition. Slix extended his telepathic senses, then recoiled with surprise. "I'm detecting at least 40 hostiles. Mixed weapon signatures. They're entrenched and waiting." Maya studied the urban landscape with those unsettling brown eyes. Frontal assault against fortified positions with a 4-to-1 disadvantage. That's going to result in significant casualties. "Then what do you suggest?" Rex demanded, though his tone had lost some of its condescension. The human approach Maya's response fundamentally challenged everything the alien cadets understood about warfare. Instead of recommending better weapons or reinforcements, she proposed something that seemed counterintuitive: patience. "We observe their patterns first. Guard rotations, communication protocols, supply lines. Every fortification has vulnerabilities, but you have to understand the system before you can exploit it." For the next 30 minutes, while other cadet teams engaged in fierce firefights throughout the simulation, Maya's group remained motionless. She'd positioned them in an abandoned building with excellent sight lines, and methodically cataloged enemy movements with hand-drawn diagrams. Slix found her behavior fascinating from a telepathic perspective. Where his teammates' minds buzzed with impatience and combat eagerness, Maya's thoughts remained unnaturally calm. She processed information like a biological computer, identifying patterns and calculating probabilities without emotional interference. "There," she finally announced, pointing to a seemingly random section of the enemy perimeter. "Guard change occurs every 18 minutes. During the transition, that access point is unwatched for approximately 40 seconds. Jorik scanned the indicated area with his enhanced vision. "I don't see an access point. Storm drain grate. Provides entry to the building's lower level. From there, we can access the main structure through maintenance shafts." Rex's massive frame couldn't conceal his skepticism. "Maintenance shafts? That's not combat. That's sneaking." "It's winning," Maya replied simply. "The infiltration. The execution of Maya's plan required capabilities none of the alien cadets possessed. The storm drain was narrow, requiring them to crawl single file through cramped conditions that tested their endurance. The maintenance shafts were worse, barely large enough for Rex's bulk and requiring precise timing to avoid detection. But Maya navigated these obstacles as if she'd designed them herself. She moved through confined spaces with fluid efficiency, somehow knowing which structural elements would support weight and which routes would minimize sound transmission. More unsettling was her apparent ability to predict enemy behavior. She'd pause at intersections, wait for precisely calculated intervals, then signal them forward just as hostile patrols moved out of range. Her timing was supernatural in its accuracy. "How do you know when they're gone?" Slicks whispered, his telepathic abilities unable to penetrate the simulation's mental shielding. "Footsteps," Maya replied. "Breathing patterns. Radio static. They're not trying to hide." The alien cadets exchanged glances. Their enhanced senses should have detected these sounds long before human ears could process them. Yet somehow Maya heard things they missed. They reached their target, the enemy command center housed in the building's upper floors. Through ventilation grates, they observed heavily armed hostiles coordinating defensive operations. Any direct assault would be suicide. "Attention, cadets. You are witnessing something that occurs perhaps once in a generation. Cadet Chen, your approach to this scenario demonstrates tactical thinking beyond your supposed experience level. Explain your methodology." Maya's voice carried through the speakers with calm professionalism. "Sir, the scenario presented a standard asymmetric warfare problem. Overwhelming force disadvantage requiring alternative solutions. My species developed extensive experience with such situations throughout our history. Your species was isolated on a single world until recently. Where did this experience originate?" The pause that followed seemed to stretch across centuries. When Maya finally responded, her words carried implications that made seasoned veterans shift uncomfortably. The terrible understanding Korath's granite features revealed something that might have been fear. His ancient memories recalled civilizations that had destroyed themselves through internal warfare, but none had survived the process to spread beyond their homeworlds. "You're saying your species' military evolution was driven by conflict against yourselves?" "Yes, sir. We learned to win wars not through superior technology or physical advantages, but through superior adaptation. Every successful tactic would be countered, requiring new innovations. This process continued for millennia. The implications settled over the command center like a gravitational field. The alien cadets had been competing against physical and technological advantages they could understand and prepare for. Maya represented something far more dangerous. 10,000 years of accumulated tactical evolution, refined through constant warfare against equally intelligent opponents. General Korath made a decision that would echo through coalition military doctrine for generations to come. "Resume the simulation." All teams continued to completion, but privately he activated emergency communication protocols. By evening, classified reports would reach the highest levels of coalition command, all containing the same recommendation. Humanity's integration into coalition military forces should proceed with extreme caution. The hand raised. The simulation concluded with Maya's team achieving complete mission success with 0 casualties. Using her improvised electronic warfare device, she'd convinced the enemy forces that they were under attack from multiple directions, causing them to abandon their positions in coordinated retreat. As the cadets assembled for debriefing, Instructor Voss announced the final challenge. "Tomorrow's exercise will be voluntary participation only. Survival scenario, extreme difficulty, minimal equipment. The simulation has a 90% casualty rate among elite forces." The alien cadets exchanged uncertain glances. Their confidence had been systematically dismantled over the past 2 days. Several shook their heads, unwilling to risk the psychological trauma associated with simulated death. Maya raised her hand. The gesture was simple, unremarkable under normal circumstances, but in the context of everything they'd witnessed, it carried implications that made General Korath close his ancient eyes in something that might have been prayer. She wasn't volunteering despite the odds. She was volunteering because of them. And somewhere in the depths of his millennia-old memory, Korath recalled a warning from his predecessors about species that viewed impossible odds not as obstacles, but as interesting problems to solve. The human integration program was no longer an experiment. It was a revelation, and the galaxy would never be the same.